Long before a diamond became a ring, over thousands of years, human beings transformed this small piece of carbon into a royal treasure, a promise of eternal love and one of the most expensive objects a person could hold between two fingers. Kings displayed diamonds as proof of power. Merchants crossed continents to obtain them. Companies controlled their supply. Advertisers taught millions of people that a marriage was somehow incomplete without one. And in parts of the world where diamonds were pulled from the ground, their beauty sometimes paid for weapons, conquest, and war. The diamond became valuable not only because of what it was, but because of what people were persuaded to believe it meant. This is the history of diamonds, and the strange, dark story of how an ancient stone became one of the most powerful desires ever created. Diamonds usually form roughly 100 miles beneath Earth's surface, where immense pressure and heat allow their carbon atoms to develop into a rigid crystal structure before volcanic material transports them upward. To understand why diamonds fascinated people, we must first understand what makes them unusual. Diamond and graphite are both made from carbon. Graphite is soft enough to leave a mark on paper, while diamond is hard enough to scratch almost every other natural substance. The difference comes from how their atoms are arranged. In a diamond, each carbon atom is tightly connected in several directions, producing an exceptionally strong structure. But hardness does not mean that a diamond cannot break. Diamonds resist scratching extremely well, yet a strong blow along certain internal planes can split them. This weakness would eventually allow skilled cutters to shape rough, cloudy crystals into bright gemstones. Most diamonds brought to the surface are not suitable for jewelry. Some are too small, dark, fractured, or filled with imperfections. For centuries, the few attractive stones that reached human hands appeared almost supernatural. They were harder than metal, difficult to shape, and seemed to capture light inside themselves. Early people did not understand the geological forces that had created them. They only knew that the stones were rare, beautiful, and almost impossible to damage. And wherever human beings discover something rare and beautiful, it normally takes them about 4 minutes to decide that ordinary people should not be allowed to own it. The earliest major diamond trade developed in India. Diamonds were collected from rivers and streams, where erosion had separated them from the rocks that once carried them upward. Miners did not begin by digging the enormous open pits associated with modern diamond production. They searched river gravels, washed sediment, and examined small stones by hand. Some historians believe diamonds were being traded in India by the 4th century BCE. The supply was limited, so ownership remained largely restricted to rulers, nobles, and wealthy merchants. Ancient Indian diamonds were not cut with the precision seen today. Cutting risked destroying part of the stone, and the techniques needed to create modern facets did not yet exist. Instead, rough crystals were often polished while much of their natural shape was preserved. Their strength gave them an almost magical reputation. Diamonds appeared in stories about protection, authority, and divine favor. A ruler wearing one was not simply displaying wealth. He was carrying an object that seemed nearly indestructible. From India, diamonds traveled west with spices, silk, and other luxury goods. Merchants carried them through long trade networks toward the Middle East and eventually to markets in Venice. By the 15th century, diamonds had become fashionable among Europe's royal families and aristocracy. For most people, however, they remained invisible. A farmer, laborer, or shopkeeper might live an entire lifetime without seeing a real diamond. The stone was not yet a universal symbol of romance. It was a symbol of power, available only to people who already possessed rather a lot of power. India supplied the earliest major diamond market, with stones gathered from rivers and traded westward through medieval commercial routes. By the 1400s, they had become fashionable among European elites. One of the earliest recorded diamond engagement rings appeared in 1477, when Archduke Maximilian of Austria gave a ring containing diamonds to Mary of Burgundy. The event is often presented as the beginning of the diamond engagement tradition, but it was not a tradition available to ordinary couples. Maximilian belonged to one of Europe's most powerful royal houses. His ring demonstrated wealth and political importance as much as affection. For centuries afterward, engagement gifts varied widely. Rings could contain other gemstones, simple metal bands, or no valuable stone at all. Diamond engagement rings existed, but they were neither affordable nor considered necessary. Meanwhile, European craftspeople slowly improved the art of diamond cutting. They discovered that carefully placed flat surfaces, known as facets, could control the way light entered and left a stone. A rough diamond that appeared dull could be transformed into something far more brilliant. Cutting created a difficult balance. Every piece removed reduced the stone's weight, yet the correct shape increased its beauty and value. A cutter could spend days examining a single rough diamond, searching for internal fractures and deciding where the first irreversible cut should be made. One mistake could destroy a fortune. As European cutting centers developed, diamonds became brighter and more elaborate. Royal collections expanded, and certain stones developed stories of their own. The diamond, now known as the Hope Diamond, was most likely mined in India. A French merchant obtained a much larger version of the stone and sold it to King Louis XIV in 1668. It became part of the French royal collection, was later stolen during the French Revolution, and eventually appeared again in a smaller, recut form. Stories of curses were later attached to it, although most were exaggerated by sellers and newspapers. Apparently, a large blue diamond was not interesting enough without also being accused of supernatural murder. What mattered was that famous diamonds were no longer merely stones. They carried names, rumors, and histories. Their stories increased their value because buyers were purchasing not only beauty, but a connection to kings, revolutions, and vanished fortunes. During the early 18th century, India's known diamond supplies were declining. Then, gold miners in Brazil began finding unfamiliar crystals among the gravel they washed from rivers. At first, the stones were reportedly treated as curiosities. Once identified as diamonds, however, they transformed Brazil into the world's most important new source. Portugal controlled colonial Brazil and quickly attempted to regulate the discoveries. Mining zones were monitored, trade routes were restricted, and taxes were imposed. Smuggling was common because a diamond was almost perfectly designed for smuggling. Tiny, valuable, and easy to hide, Brazilian production increased the number of diamonds reaching Europe. Greater supply placed pressure on prices, but the stones remained luxury objects. Mining depended heavily on enslaved labor, adding another dark foundation beneath the polished jewelry displayed in European courts. For more than a century, Brazil dominated global diamond supply. Yet even its deposits could not prepare the market for what would happen in southern Africa. The Brazilian discoveries began in the early 1700s and turned the country into the dominant diamond source for more than 150 years. Much of the mining economy operated within Portugal's colonial system and relied heavily on enslaved labor. In 1866, a 15-year-old boy named Erasmus Jacobs was playing near the Orange River in South Africa when he found a bright pebble. The stone passed through several hands before it was examined and identified as a diamond, weighing more than 21 carats. It was later named the Eureka Diamond. At first, many people remained doubtful. One diamond did not necessarily mean that an enormous deposit existed nearby. Then, in 1869, a shepherd found a much larger stone. According to the commonly told account, the shepherd initially tried to exchange it for a place to sleep and then for breakfast. Both offers were rejected. Eventually, the stone reached Schulk van Niekerk, the same man who had taken an interest in the earlier discovery. Van Niekerk offered the shepherd a horse, 10 oxen, and hundreds of sheep. It was almost everything he owned. The stone turned out to be an 83.5-carat diamond, later called the Star of South Africa. News traveled quickly. Prospectors began arriving with shovels, tents, carts, and the familiar belief that fortune had personally chosen them, a belief shared by almost every person about to lose money in a mining rush. Diamonds were discovered along rivers and on farms. In 1871, major deposits were found on land belonging to two brothers named Johannes and Diederik de Beer. Their surname would eventually become one of the most powerful names in the diamond business. The landscape changed with astonishing speed. Thousands of individual claims were marked out beside one another. Miners dug deeper while narrow sections of earth were left standing between competing plots. Ropes, ladders, and wooden platforms crossed over a growing pit. The excavation that developed at Kimberley became known as the Big Hole. Men lowered buckets into the ground, hauled rock upward, and searched through immense amounts of material for stones small enough to disappear in a closed hand. The work was exhausting and dangerous. Walls collapsed, equipment failed, water entered the diggings. Individual miners soon discovered that finding a diamond was only one part of the problem. Reaching deeper deposits required pumps, machinery, labor, and capital. The romantic age of the lone prospector was ending almost as soon as it began. Diamond mining was becoming an industrial business, and the people with access to the most money were positioned to take control. The Eureka Diamond was found in 1866, followed by the 83.5-carat Star of South Africa in 1869. Those discoveries helped trigger a rush that turned Kimberley into a major mining settlement. Among the people who arrived in the diamond fields was Cecil Rhodes, a young Englishman who had originally traveled to southern Africa for his health and joined his brother in farming. The farm struggled, so Rhodes moved toward the diamond diggings. He began by renting equipment and pumping water from flooded mining claims. It was not glamorous work, but it allowed him to earn money while observing which miners were struggling. As smaller claim owners ran out of funds, Rhodes began purchasing their operations. He understood that the future belonged not to thousands of independent diggers, but to a small number of companies capable of controlling deep, expensive mines. Rhodes was not alone. His most important competitor was Barney Barnato, another ambitious businessman who had built his own collection of claims. Their rivalry ended through consolidation rather than some dramatic duel beside the mine, which is unfortunate for cinema but generally better for accountants. In 1888, Rhodes formed De Beers Consolidated Mines. The company absorbed competing operations, including Barnato's interests, and gained enormous control over South African diamond production. This was important because the new mines had created a dangerous problem for diamond sellers. There were too many diamonds. For most of history, limited supply had protected diamond prices. The South African deposits revealed diamonds in quantities the old market had never experienced. If all of those stones were released at once, they could become far less expensive. The industry therefore needed to do something peculiar. It needed to mine enormous numbers of diamonds while convincing buyers that diamonds remained exceptionally scarce. By 1900, De Beers was estimated to control approximately 90% of global rough diamond production. It had become more than a mining company. It stood between the ground and the market, with the power to influence how many stones buyers were allowed to see. Cecil Rhodes established De Beers Consolidated Mines in 1888, and by 1900 the company controlled an estimated 90% of world rough diamond production. During the 20th century, De Beers developed a distribution system that became known for regulating diamond supply. Diamonds from different mines were collected, sorted, and sold through a controlled network. Selected buyers, known as site holders, were invited to sales where parcels of rough diamonds were presented at fixed prices. The buyer generally accepted the parcel or risked damaging the relationship that provided access to future stones. When global demand weakened, diamonds could be held in stock rather than released immediately. When demand improved, more could enter the market. The purpose was not to make every diamond impossibly rare, it was to prevent uncontrolled supply from causing prices to collapse. This does not mean that every diamond is common or that quality makes no difference. Large, colorless stones with few internal flaws are genuinely far rarer than small, lower-quality stones. Natural colored diamonds can be rarer still, but the market value of diamonds was never determined by geology alone. It was shaped by mining costs, grading, cutting, distribution, and the ability of major companies to manage supply. De Beers did not maintain its old level of control forever. New mines appeared in countries including Russia, Australia, and Canada. Producers began selling through other channels, and during the early 21st century, the diamond market became significantly more competitive. Yet control of supply solved only half of the industry's problem. Companies could limit the number of diamonds reaching buyers, but they still needed buyers to want them. And that required something far more powerful than a mine. It required a story. De Beers' central selling organization historically purchased, distributed, and stockpiled rough stones to balance supply with demand. The company later lost much of this single-channel control as new producers and selling systems emerged. By the 1930s, the diamond industry faced falling demand. The Great Depression had damaged luxury spending, and a diamond engagement ring was still not considered essential in many households. De Beers turned to the American advertising agency, N.W. Ayer and Son. The challenge was enormous. Advertising a particular company would not be enough because most customers did not know which company had mined a stone. The campaign needed to advertise the idea of diamonds themselves. Advertisements began connecting diamonds with romance, commitment, and social success. Hollywood actors were shown wearing them. Newspapers and magazines discussed celebrity jewelry. Fashion photographs made the diamond ring appear elegant, modern, and desirable. The product was slowly attached to one of the most important moments in a person's life. A man was not merely buying a gemstone, he was proving that his intentions were serious. A woman receiving a diamond was not merely receiving jewelry, she was being shown that the relationship had value and permanence. The brilliance of the campaign was that it transformed price from a weakness into a feature. The expense of a diamond demonstrated sacrifice. A cheaper object could not supposedly communicate the same devotion because it had required less financial pain. Human beings had somehow reached the conclusion that suffering was evidence of love. Advertisers merely found a way to provide receipts. In 1947, copywriter Francis Garrity created 4 words that captured the entire strategy. "A diamond is forever." The slogan appeared in advertising the following year. It connected the physical durability of a diamond with the emotional permanence of marriage. It also discouraged resale. If a diamond represented eternal commitment, selling it could feel like admitting that the commitment itself had failed. Diamonds would remain in families, reducing the number of used stones returning to compete with newly mined ones. The campaign did not invent diamond engagement rings from nothing. Wealthy families had used them for centuries, but advertising helped transform an elite custom into a mass-market expectation. Over time, the ring became part of proposals in films, television, magazines, and popular culture. Its presence felt traditional because people repeatedly saw it presented as tradition. Generations grew up believing that diamond engagement rings had always been normal. Eventually, not buying one could appear unusual, cheap, or even suspicious. That is what made the campaign so extraordinary. It did not merely convince customers to prefer one brand over another. It influenced the rituals through which millions of people expressed love. Before the 1940s, diamond rings were relatively uncommon as engagement gifts in the United States. After decades of advertising, they became widely expected. The stone had not changed, its meaning had. De Beers' 20th century advertising linked diamonds with romantic permanence, and the "A Diamond is Forever" campaign, first used in 1948, became one of the best-known marketing campaigns in modern history. As diamond ownership expanded, customers needed a way to compare stones. A diamond's size alone does not determine its quality. 2 diamonds of equal weight can have very different appearances and prices. The modern industry evaluates stones through 4 main qualities: cut, color, clarity, and carat weight, commonly known as the 4 C's. Carat measures weight, not physical size. A 1-carat diamond weighs 0.2 grams. Color grading usually measures how close a white diamond is to being colorless. Slight yellow or brown tones are common, while truly colorless stones are less common. Clarity considers internal features and surface marks. These natural characteristics can affect beauty, durability, and rarity. Cut examines how successfully human craftsmanship has shaped the stone. A well-cut diamond reflects light back toward the viewer, while a poorly cut stone may allow light to escape and appear lifeless. These standards helped make diamond trading more consistent, but they also gave sellers a detailed language through which tiny differences could produce enormous differences in price. This is why describing diamonds as either completely worthless or automatically priceless is misleading. A small commercial stone and an exceptional large diamond are not interchangeable simply because both are carbon. Diamonds possess real physical properties, mining them is expensive, and high-quality stones can be genuinely rare. The darker truth is subtler. Their value comes from a combination of natural rarity, controlled supply, careful grading, and cultural meaning. Geology created the stone, but human systems created the market around it. The 4 C's, cut, color, clarity, and carat weight, became the standard framework for communicating diamond quality and evaluating differences among stones. For most customers, diamonds appeared only after they had been cleaned, cut, and placed beneath bright jewelry store lights. The mine itself remained far away. During the late 20th century, civil wars in parts of Africa exposed what could happen when diamonds were discovered in unstable regions. Diamonds were particularly useful for armed groups. Unlike oil or timber, they could be extracted with relatively simple equipment in some alluvial deposits. A small pouch could contain an enormous amount of value. The stones could then be smuggled across borders, sold through international networks, and exchanged for weapons. In Angola, diamonds helped finance the rebel movement UNITA during a long civil war. In Sierra Leone, the Revolutionary United Front seized mining regions and used diamond wealth to support its campaign. Diamonds from conflict areas also moved through neighboring states, making their true origin difficult to determine. By the time a polished stone reached a jewelry shop in Europe or America, it could be nearly impossible for the buyer to know where it had begun. The phrase "blood diamond" became associated with rough diamonds used to finance rebel wars. Reports from journalists, campaigners, and international organizations forced the industry to confront a terrible contradiction. A product sold as a symbol of love was helping to fund violence. The problem was not that every African diamond was connected to war. That claim would be false and deeply unfair. Several African countries rely on legitimate diamond production for jobs, exports, and public revenue. Botswana, for example, developed a major diamond industry in partnership with mining companies and used the sector as an important part of its national economy. The real problem was traceability. Once illegal stones entered the same trading networks as legitimate diamonds, separating them became extremely difficult. Public pressure led governments, the diamond industry, and civil society organizations to develop the Kimberley Process Certification Scheme. Launched in 2003, it required participating countries to regulate shipments of rough diamonds and provide certificates intended to confirm that exports were not financing rebel movements. The scheme helped create international controls where almost none had existed before. Supporters credit it with reducing the open trade in diamonds linked to several major rebel conflicts. But the system has also faced serious criticism. Its official definition focuses mainly on rough diamonds used by rebel forces to fight legitimate governments. Critics argue that this can exclude abuses committed by government forces, dangerous labor conditions, child labor, corruption, and violence that does not fit the narrow definition of rebellion. A Kimberley Process Certificate therefore addresses a particular category of conflict financing. It is not an absolute guarantee that no person was exploited or harmed anywhere in a diamond supply chain. The shine of a finished stone can hide an astonishing number of hands. Conflict diamonds helped finance armed groups in Angola, Sierra Leone, and neighboring regions, leading to the Kimberley Process Certification Scheme in 2003. Human rights organizations have nevertheless criticized the scheme's narrow definition and limited coverage of other abuses. While governments were attempting to trace natural diamonds, scientists were creating a different challenge. For centuries, alchemists and inventors dreamed of producing diamonds. Many announced success, but their claims could not be proven. The conditions needed to arrange carbon into diamond were extremely difficult to recreate. During the 20th century, researchers finally succeeded. One method, known as high pressure, high temperature, or HPHT, attempts to reproduce some of the conditions under which diamonds form inside the earth. Powerful equipment applies intense heat and pressure to carbon around a small seed crystal. Another method, chemical vapor deposition, or CVD, grows diamond in a chamber containing carbon-rich gas. Carbon atoms gradually settle onto a thin diamond seed, building the crystal layer by layer. The first commercially available human-made diamonds were produced during the 1950s. Early stones were mainly small and intended for industrial purposes. Because diamond is exceptionally hard, synthetic material was valuable for cutting, drilling, grinding, and specialized machinery. Over time, the technology improved. Laboratories learned to produce larger, clearer stones suitable for jewelry. A laboratory-grown diamond is not the same as cubic zirconia or glass. Those materials imitate the appearance of diamond but have different chemical structures. Laboratory-grown diamonds contain carbon arranged in essentially the same crystal structure as natural diamonds and possess almost the same optical and physical properties. To the unaided eye, a well-made laboratory stone may be indistinguishable from a natural one. Specialized equipment can identify differences in growth patterns and other microscopic features. Their existence creates an uncomfortable question for the traditional diamond industry. What exactly is the customer paying for? If the objective is brilliance, hardness, and chemical composition, a laboratory can provide a genuine diamond without mining it from the earth. If the objective is natural rarity, geological age, and connection to a place in the Earth's history, then a mined diamond remains different. Neither answer is purely scientific because customers are purchasing meaning as much as material. The natural diamond industry emphasizes age, rarity, and origin. Laboratory producers emphasize technology, accessibility, and the absence of traditional mining. Environmental comparisons are complicated because mines disturb land and ecosystems, while laboratories require energy whose impact depends on how that energy is produced. Laboratory diamonds have not destroyed the desire for natural stones, but they have exposed how much diamond value depends on narrative. Two stones may appear almost identical. One may have formed beneath the earth over an immense period. The other may have grown inside a machine in several weeks. The carbon does not care. People do. Commercial human-made diamonds emerged in the 1950s, and modern HPHT and CVD processes can create stones with essentially the same chemical and optical properties as natural diamonds, although specialized testing can distinguish their different growth histories. So, are diamonds a scam? Not exactly. A diamond is a real natural material with remarkable properties. Exceptional stones are genuinely rare. Mining, sorting, cutting, and polishing require enormous investment and skill. But diamonds are also one of the clearest examples of how human desire can be shaped. Their modern meaning was not created deep beneath the earth. It was created in royal courts, colonial mines, corporate offices, jewelry workshops, Hollywood films, and advertising agencies. Nature created carbon crystals. India's rivers turned them into ancient treasures. European rulers made them symbols of power. Brazilian and African mines expanded their supply. De Beers built a system capable of managing the market. Advertising connected them to romance. Civil wars revealed the violence that could hide behind them. Laboratories finally proved that even a diamond's natural origin could be recreated in another form. The most successful part of the diamond story was never convincing people that diamonds were beautiful. Their beauty was obvious. It was convincing the world that the stone was necessary. A diamond does not contain love. It cannot guarantee loyalty, protect a marriage, or measure the value of another person. It is carbon, cut to reflect light. Everything beyond that exists inside the human imagination. And perhaps that is the strangest truth of all. A diamond may last for an extraordinarily long time, but the meaning placed upon it has always belonged to us.